Welcome back to the
Welcome
Gap.
back to the GAPcast. I'm your
Welcome
real
back to the.
host,
Fuck you.
Peter.
I asked you. Do you want to introduce it? It's fine with me. I don't have a problem.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Welcome back to the Gapcast. My name is Guillermo, here to talk about the latest psychology. Here with my co-hosts.
I'm Abraham. How are you?
I'm Peter. I'll be putting in some pop psychology.
On this episode of the Gapcast, we will be talking about the psychology of dreams and their various interpretations and what modern psychology has to say about it. So, Peter, what do you have?
All right, so brought to you by Scientific American. The science behind dreaming. Now, they bring us a few different theories. The first theory, we'll just start off with the activation synthesis hypothesis, which basically means that all dreams don't mean anything, rather than they're just random electrical impulses inside of your brain, just shooting out random thoughts, random memories, and just jumbling it all together as soon as it hit the REM cycle.
Yeah, so this one is a newer theory. It's based off of neuroscience. The idea is that in the brain, there's like a central center that controls like rhythmic impulses. That's where you kind of get brain waves. And this center, when it's firing randomly, it produces stimulation in brain areas that process like visual stimulation, auditory stimulation. And the brain interprets that as a dream. The problem with the activation synthesis hypothesis is that it states that dreams are emotional because of chaotic neuronal firing. But the problem is not all dreams are as chaotic as the theory predicts. In fact, only 30% of them. So the theory has some holes. What else, Peter?
Actually, if let's say humoring the idea that there are just random memories and thoughts, would that include animals? Do animals actually dream or no?
Current data supports the idea that animals do dream. However, there's not evidence to support the idea that animals are aware that they're dreaming and that they have like narratives in their dreams. It's likely that animals are just dreaming of like things happening, but there's no story. Like, you know how when you have a dream, you have a narrative, like, you know, you have a conflict and you have a resolution, or like there's something that you need to deal with, or you're just communicating with somebody. You have like a story for the most part, but there's no evidence that shows that animals have the same brain networks to be able to facilitate that.
And speaking of things happening to you, the next theory brought up is the threat simulation theory. In other words, the threat simulation theory proposes that the entire point of dreams is that a long time ago, our ancestors had dreams where they were put into different scenarios, in different circumstances in which their brain would try to find ways to solve it. This way, the brain would be better prepared to combat these scenarios when they do come up in real life, therefore enhancing, and so I quote, the neurocognitive mechanisms required to efficient threat perception and avoidance.
Yeah, so this one's an interesting theory. This theory states that we evolve dreams to be able to predict what type of dangerous things might happen in our life. And so we're able to respond accordingly if they actually happen. The problem with this theory is that there's evidence that shows that implicit learning, which is the idea that you learn without putting direct focus into something, it is not effective. And that's what the evolved threat rehearsal strategy is stating. So maybe it is possible that sometimes we dream of threatening things and we reflect on it, and maybe we do prepare ourselves because of the reflection, but it's not likely that we evolve dreams to prepare for threats though. What else do you have, Peter?
All right, the next one shows that there might be a linkage between the memories as well as dreaming. And different little facts, for example, our brain goes into different brain waves. In other words, delta, theta, alpha, and beta. And those are the 4 types of electrical brain waves that our brain goes through when it is in the REM cycle. And what they did is a Italian scientific researcher brought together a bunch of different students and measured them in each of those different cycles. Now, because of so, they were able to find out that you were able to memorize or remember most dreams a lot better if you're woken directly out of the REM sleep.
Yeah, so currently the theory is in dreaming is that dreams occur during REM sleep. This is supposedly when you get the most refreshing sleep of the night. So when Peter, let's talk about the brainwaves. This is actually interesting. So we know how I was talking about brainwaves earlier when it came to the activation synthesis hypothesis. Well,
Yep.
brainwaves, they're basically the rhythmic firing of neurons in the brain. And they have different basically frequencies, how fast they fire. So alpha is the brainwave that you feel when you're feeling sleepy, you're falling asleep. Then you get into the theta waves. Theta is when you're getting into like the NREM sleep. So it's kind of like you're getting into deeper and deeper sleep. Delta is the deepest sleep. And then, surprisingly, when you get into REM sleep, that's the beta waves. Beta waves is pretty similar to wakefulness. So that's why whenever you're in a REM sleep, the brain activity is similar to wakefulness.
All right. In that case, the last part I want to bring up is this is going to be a little thought bubble for all of us inside this Zoom meeting. It's going to be, do blind people have dreams? According to the first theory, if they're just memories and if they're just a bunch of different circumstances that happen in our life and we're just recalling them, then people who are born blind, would they be able to actually dream? If they do, would it be the same as us?
So currently, neuroscience it does allow for the idea that blind people do dream. They just, of course, visual input may not be there, or it could be just visual white noise. It really depends on how blind they are. Are they blind because they have eye damage or because they have brain damage? If they have brain damage, they might not have any visual dreams whatsoever. But for instance, if they had sight at one point in their lives and then their eyes got damaged, it is entirely possible that these blind people will still have visual dreams, because dreaming isn't about whether you can see or whether you can hear. It's about associational areas in the brain. And as long as those associational areas are working, you should have a dream. Okay.
All right, Abraham, what do you think about it?
I think blind people having dreams pretty cool. Guys ever watch Daredevil?
All right. I have not.
I guess that's kind of an example. He wasn't born blind, so he still had regular dreams, I think. I don't remember though.
All right, perfect. We got not pop psychology, pop culture
Pop
reference.
reference.
Regardless,
Mhm.
in that case, we're gonna need a personal anecdote from somebody in this meeting to give us a nice little idea.
As a blind person myself, I
No.
think I have a lot of experience.
All right, no, because according to astrology.com, we're gonna bring them some ideas
Jesus Christ.
what
I don't condone this. I don't condone this.
highly controversial in the psychology department. We're going to
bad,
talk
huh?
about horoscopes.
Disgusting.
Hey, Bram, why don't you give me a quick, vague dream and give me a theme about it at least?
I had a dream where I was sitting in my den watching TV, and then my dad was walking around, and I think he got like a beer from the refrigerator, and then he went to his room. But like as he was going to his room, I was looking at him, and then like I don't know if I was like trying to get food out of my teeth or what, but I scratched my tooth too hard, I guess, and I chipped it. And then I told my dad I chipped my tooth, and then he walked away to go drink his beer in his room.
Okay, well that is
Oh,
actually
shit.
this is
Okay.
something. There's a portion on teeth. All right, interesting. So, according to psychology,
Astrology.com.
it means nothing. It means that it's just random impulses in your brain. Just put together a mesh of memories.
Well, not necessarily. That's the activation synthesis theory. But go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Let's see this symbolism.
Teeth. It means false or disembodied teeth portend the breakdown of an important relationship in the dreamer's life, not necessarily a romantic one.
Abraham, have you had a romantic relationship breakdown lately?
Not exactly. It has to be romantic. Excuse you.
No.
Exactly.
Hold on. There's more. If
Okay.
a dreamer's dreams of aching teeth, this could be a warning of future health problems.
It wasn't
Do you
aching.
feel-
It fell out.
Anyways, broken or decayed teeth imply the need for repair in some department of your dreamer's life. Do you feel like you need repair in your life, Abraham, in some parts?
Yes, I do.
Proof.
All right.
Boom.
Now let's
Just
talk about
prove
why.
it.
Let's talk about why psychology thinks this is BS. First
Just
of all,
prove it.
neuroscience currently states that the mechanisms necessary for symbolic and metaphorical thinking, you know how when we understand metaphors and poems and everything like that, is not activated when we're sleeping. So it's not likely that the brain is making a metaphor about your teeth falling out that you need repair in your romantic relationships. Also, there is no such thing as a universal symbol. What some persons dream an incident or like something that happens is not translate into another person. For instance, in one person's dream, a snake might be a sign of fear of impending doom, but another person, it can be a sign of liberation. For instance, the snake got freed. It all depends on context. So that's why current neuroscience and current psychology, it discredits this idea of having a symbol behind all dreams. But I will agree, in Jungian psychology, it does not have universal symbols, but it rather has something called an archetype. which is kind of like a universal symbol, but it basically follows on the principle that if you have this type of dream, it's an indication of how your ego state is. In Jungian psychology, there are 5 main dream patterns present. There is no dream ego present. So basically, this is just like you're not in the dream. You're just flying around and you're perceiving what's going on. Then there's the dream ego as threatened. So this is basically when you have like these, you're being attacked, right? Or like there's like this dangerous situation that you're in. Then there's the dream ego is confronted with a performance requirement. You know this by taking an exam and then you're panicking. And then there's also the mobility dream, which is basically like you're trying to get somewhere. You're on a bus, but for instance, maybe the bus is taking you the wrong way. And lastly, there's a social interaction dream. So basically, you're talking to somebody. Could also be a sex dream. That's a social interaction dream. However, it's important to note here that the dreams, they're usually the results of how you are in life. So for instance, if you have no dream ego, like you're just flying around, it's possible that you just given up on life. That's called a passive psychopathology. This usually happens in people that are under a great deal of stress and they just withdraw from life. Then in the dream where you're being fought, or like where like there's something that's trying to kill you or something, that usually could be a sign of narcissism or denial of certain aspects of your personality. So for instance, if there's something that's trying to combat you, it could be because you're repressing it and you're not giving it the time of day. And then when like the examination one, that could be an indication that you have difficulty making decisions and taking progressive steps in your life. In the bus dream, that's the same thing as a performance requirement. So basically, you just don't know what to do with your life. And in the social interaction dream, this one's interesting. It basically is problems around interpersonal relationships, specifically finding an intimate partner. So if you have a lot of dreams regarding people in your life, and in these dreams there's always conflict with them, chances are it means that you have problems finding an intimate partner. Something to note.
In that case, for my final rebuttal against psychology before I and everyone who follows this podcast should abandon horoscopes is a test. Abram, do you feel astrological parallel with Saturn? Well, Abram.
There was this one girl who was into spaghetti. No, wait, Sagittarius or something like that.
Sagittarius.
Or maybe she was a Scorpion. I don't know. She was into those signs and stuff.
But do you feel like you're connected to Saturn?
I feel like I want to throw Saturn at you.
Me too, after listening to astrology. Jesus, I hate it.
All right, in that case, astrology, yes.
I said astrology, not astronomy. I know astronomy is an actual science. Okay, I know the difference.
I saw that too. I'm like, ouch, my bad. Anyways, all right, in that case, yes. So today we found out that astrology is full of crap. Just poking holes. And finally, dreams is a science that has not been fully exactly examined or fully discovered. Granted, no science is, but nonetheless, a lot of it we still don't understand. So a lot of things we're bringing up are nothing more but theories and thoughts.
Dreaming is so interesting. The study of dreams is scientifically called onirology. And there's just so much to learn. Like, this is one of the most fascinating fields for me, because this is one of the things that we just don't have an almost definitive answer. Like when it comes to like treating psychiatric disorders, we have an idea why. But when dreaming, there's just so many conflicting theories that we just don't know what's true and what's not.
The issue I have with it is probably the fact that it's too personal. It's too independent based. If for example, when it comes to psychopaths, it's not going to be exactly the trend. Not every person who has a divorced parents and beat their child is going to come out with a psychopath, but it's a common trend.
Yeah, statistics.
Yeah, exactly. In dreams, like I said before, everyone has a different perception, everyone has a different idea, but we have popular ideas. For example, let's say you have Jesus Christ, one of the most well-known symbols, the cross. Yeah. Then that will have more of an association to needing redemption. That's when you can associate different ideas to it.
Dreams are personal and they're cultural. That's why symbolism matters. Symbolism is not universal. So your symbol in one dream is not the same. So for instance, if you're religious and a cross might have greater emotional valence to you, but if you grew up in the Middle East, or not even the Middle East, if you grew up in an isolated tribe and you never heard of Christianity, a cross is not going to have the same significance. So that's why it's important to realize that dreams are also cultural too.
All right, then eventually in the future, the more we get personalized, for example, those advertisements that are directly targeting you because they just monitor your internet history. Oh yeah. When people have a better assumption of who you are privately and publicly, then those dreams will have a better interpretation.
interpreting a dream is always going to be very difficult because dreams, like as you said, are subjective. That's why the Freudian theory, you know how you do that like psychotherapy and they analyze your
You want to
dreams
bang
and
your mom?
everything. Yeah, well, then all that, yeah. That's why we don't like it anymore in psychology because it's very subjective. It's sometimes even just simple keywords from the therapist can completely change the meaning of a dream when a person's reciting it. And that's everything we have for you today on the GAPcast. Psychology of dreams. Man, what a fascinating topic. Hopefully we find something like this in the future. All right, I'm Guillermo.
I'm Abraham, and is this a dream? Who knows?
My name
Oh,
is
is
Peter,
is
and
life
it's
a
not.
dream? Oh, this is philosophy. If it was a psychological thing, I would talk about this. But anyway, that's all we have for you today. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.